Hello everyone, welcome to the Coffee Run Live episode 475 on this very wonky, oh my god, if my tripod could work, that would be a really good thing. It's always good when your equipment works and it's always a pain in the ass when it doesn't. So welcome, hello, I hope you are all fantastic, awesome and completely amazing on what is a very glorious Tuesday here. So the weather report is that we have got sun, we've got blue sky. It was very cold this morning on our morning walk, but it's shaping up to be a ship-shaped shiny day. So I hope the weather's lovely in your area of the world. We don't need to just talk about the weather. What I wanted to talk with you about today is a thing that happens all the time. And it doesn't matter what stage of growing your business you are in, and it actually doesn't matter what stage of growing your visibility you are in. The same stuff or the similar stuff tends to come up. The worries, the frustrations, the problems, the challenges, the thinking, and all of this kind of thing. Now, just as you're joining me, please just let me know that you can hear me. We have got all kinds of internet issues happening here at the moment, so I hope you guys can hear me okay. We had lots of problems this morning and last night. It was ridiculous. So the problems that tend to come up are around people worrying about the competition. And actually I talked about this yesterday with people often will worry about sharing all of their stuff, right? Putting their stuff out for free, sharing their best content, and then worrying that people aren't going to buy or aren't going to spend, or that somebody else is going to rip off your stuff. So as we know, and I'm absolutely certain of this to be true because of the way that the world is at the moment, there are more and more people coming into your industry, particularly online, on a daily basis. Hey Sharon, good morning. And I think one of the big things here is that we've got there's this big influx of people, right? And I actually think that particularly online, it's growing at the fastest rate that it ever has before. I was talking with a friend, hey Chris, thank you for letting me know. We had all sorts of issues yesterday in the free group where I ran that training call. It was just, I started 3 times and the connection kept dropping out. It was very stressful. And like you all know what happens if I don't get my words out, right? It's just like I get really frustrated and I've got all this stuff to share and I feel like it's getting ready to explode like lava. So anyway, the competition is fierce. There are more and more people coming out into the online world all the time, every single day, whether it's as a private practice owner, whether it's a studio owner, whether it's as a business coach, a marketing coach, a social media coach, a virtual assistant, it could be a personal trainer, it could be a graphic designer, it could be a website designer. There are, and every other industry that is associated with helping people, there's been this big turn to online. I was talking to a friend of mine for the Into the Spotlight interviews actually the other day. And one of the things that she said, and I haven't found the stats that she quoted actually, that apparently the online world, e-commerce, is 2 years ahead of predictions with what people are doing. Now, what that tells me is that there are so many more people who are seeing the opportunities of being able to grow a business online. There are so many people seeing the opportunities of marketing, of using social media to get themselves out there. The problem with that is that if everybody is looking at, well, you know, we don't want everybody to look the same, right? And if everybody is out there throwing all their stuff at the internet and everybody is being very much the same, or they're following the same playbook, they're following the same, they see someone who's apparently doing it well and then they try and emulate them. The issue is that you can end up inadvertently looking very much the same, sounding very much the same, and that's never a good thing. So one of the best things that you can ever do, and this is when it comes to your like your branding perhaps, and I'm talking like with your website design, with your graphic creation, with anything that you're doing that's not necessarily you specifically, but your other mediums in which you're growing your visibility, look outside your industry for inspiration. So if you're a consultant, you might go and have a look at, and if you want something that feels really luxurious and bespoke, go and have a look at the websites of really expensive furniture stores, right? You might go and have a look at like designer homes and see how they're portrayed online, and maybe there's things in terms of the way that things move or feel and things like that that you can emulate through your branding. I would very strongly encourage you to not even look at anyone else in your industry, because you can be swayed into, oh, that looks really great. And the last thing that we want is to be the same or even similar, even if what you do, the vehicle that you use might be similar. So one thing that's also really interesting to me, and this happened actually, I've popped it in the comments with the thing for today, but basically I remember having a conversation with a business owner who is actually a very well known in the industry that they are in. And we were having this conversation about people copying their stuff. So what can happen is this, right? And this is sometimes just the way of humans. You might have a program that you run, and we'll talk about online, for instance. You might have a program that you run, and one of your competitors or one of their staff members or one of their associates or one of their friends might buy your program for research purposes to see how you do things. Now, this is all assuming that they're looking at your stuff and they admire what you're doing. They're kind of curious, right? And that's okay. Like they can buy your stuff if that's what you want to do. If you're not on a sales call with them, then people can just buy online. Then that is a risk that you run. That one of your competitors may actually buy your thing. And I know that there have been people in my programs who have had competitors or staff members of competitors or friends of competitors buy their stuff to try and find out what's going on in there. Now, that I think is a bit shit, to be honest. Number one, I think it's a bit shitty. I think you should all be, not you, but they should be able to be confident enough within themselves to be able to create what it is that they want, right? Unless they were very open about it and said, hey, I would really love to buy this program. I'm trying to build something similar. I wanted to see how you do it. Is it okay if I buy and, whatever. And I mean, to me, if someone said to me, Nick, I would love to run something similar to you. I really love what you're doing. Can you teach me? I'd be like, absolutely. Freaking oath. There is only, there is so much to go around, and there's only one of me. The unfortunate thing / fortunate thing is that there are millions and millions and millions of people on earth, and it's unlikely that all of the people who need marketing help, who need positioning help, who need content creation help, who need, help getting themselves out there, being either going from invisible to visible, or going from visible to being in the spotlight, or from being in the spotlight to really creating like massive epic changes and, changing the world with industry leading events and whatever else it is that they're doing. It's unlikely that every single one of those people are going to find me and like me more than somebody else perhaps who does something similar. So I'm not ever worried about, unless it's really underhanded and deceitful, and then that's a different ballgame, because that's just you being an asshole if you're going to do that. But to me, I don't have any issue with teaching people how to do what I do. I don't have any issue with teaching people how they can do this stuff, or even potentially, like, depending on the tool. Some people have said, oh, Nick, I think this would be really helpful for my people. Do you mind if I teach it? Or do you mind if I, outline it, and then they can come back to you if they need further, clarification or buy a program, whatever. I'm like, yeah, great, go for it. Particularly if it's a high level client. If you put something for $97 or a book and you're going to facilitate that in a thing, then that's a little bit, that's a bit rude. But what's really curious is that most people are coming unconsciously from a place of scarcity. And so what that can look like in the world of online, this coming from a place of scarcity can look like you holding back on sharing your best, most awesome stuff, right? Now, I was talking about, I was talking to a client yesterday actually, and we were sort of jamming on this a little bit because the question came up, well, I don't want to put all my stuff out there for free or for people to access. Now, there's a line, right? You could go to my website and you could trawl through all of the free stuff. You could trawl through all of my blogs. If you go and implement everything that I teach you through all of that, you will make millions of dollars a year. Hands down, I know absolutely that you could do that. You could do that. That is the potentiality of the stuff that is in there. The thing is that most people don't have, and they need the personalization. They need the clarification. They need the accountability with looking at, okay, well, I've got this really interesting concept. How do I make this apply to me? If you want to build $1 million business, you can go to the Googles and Google $1 million business plan for whatever it is that you do. And the Google will spit out a $1 million business plan for you with how you can do that. But conceptually, that makes sense, right? And conceptually, it's easy. I mean, all you need to do is have a really great product. You've just got to market it, and then you've got to make sales, right? And then it becomes a numbers game and a conversions game and a data game. It's about how much you can put into the front end in order to get the result. It's not complicated to make $1 million. For 83 clients each year pay you $6,000 over a whole entire year, you have a $500,000 a year business without batting an eyelid. It's not hard. All you've got to do is find a way to sell something for $6,000 to 83 people. Only 83 people out of the whole entire world, right? So, I think the thing that happens is that people worry that there's not going to be enough for them. So they hold back on sharing certain information. So, and that's, if you most people won't implement the stuff that you give them away for free anyway. Okay. So I give away free stuff all the time. I've got the free content map, like free training and stuff like that. I mean, I've got some of my latest thinking and the way for you to be able to create really freaking powerful marketing and into the spotlight. And I know that the statistics of how many people will actually open it up, read that book, do all the work that's in there and implement and actually follow through on the learning and the training and everything else like that, then, it's really low because people still feel like a lot of people will feel, some people will do it and run with it and be fine. The majority of people will be like, okay, this is great conceptually. How do I pull this out of my own brain? How do I make this work? And so that's where we've got events like Visible Live that happen, or there's other courses and stuff that I run at various different times. So just because you're giving away some of, or selling cheaply the stuff that you've got to offer, it doesn't mean that people won't then buy more. Something that is, however, really, really important, and that is you always being almost like always being on the front foot. So what I mean by that is I've gone, like when I created the content map, I created the content map in 2018, the visible content map. And it was a way, and I built a training around it. I delivered it with other people and I was like, okay, this is really cool. So I decided to give that away for free because it had been so helpful with my clients. And part of the opinions that came back were like, well, why are you giving that away for free? Like, we'd pay to have you help us put that together. And I'm like, that's great, but the more people I can get this into the hands of, then the more people are going to be out there getting visible, having a bit of a framework that they can use and growing in confidence, right? So that was something that I created in 2018. Moving on from that, throughout 2019, I started building out the plan for Into the Spotlight, and I started playing around with some different ways of helping people really develop expert positioning around what they were doing. And that's really, if we think about, what needs to happen, you need to be seen as an expert in the eyes of your audience. You do not need to be seen as an expert in the eyes of your peers. You do not need to be seen as an expert in the eyes of your competition. You do not need to be seen as an expert in the eyes of anyone except the people that you want to bring in and the people that you want to help. Okay? So, once you've got kind of like all of that, and then you start using that. So what happens is that you get your content sorted, you get your process sorted, and you start using that with people and they start getting results. And this is what happened last year. Hi, Evie. This is what happened last year with this particular person that I was talking about. So they were really worried about other people coming into the industry, people coming through their courses and basically going and then teaching and mystery shopping, but not so mystery shopping. There was no mystery about it, right? It was pretty fucking overt. And so then what they were doing, what they found out is that they were then going and teaching their stuff to other people. And I said, well, that's really shit. And we sort of had a bit of a conversation about it because this is something that may or may not happen with your stuff, right? So what I was thinking about was you've got this kind of this stuff that you start to use and the things that you start to play with and you start working with your content and your way of articulating it and your thinking using your process, your proprietary process, which we teach you in Into the Spotlight and I help you unpack actually in Visible Live. And the link is in the comments for Visible Live if you come in to join us in that. But once you've got that, that will give you a good 12 to 18 months, maybe 2 years of really awesome, solid, foundational, unique positioning that does absolutely 100% position you as being different and as being an expert in the eyes of your audience. There's absolutely zero doubt. I know that will happen provided you implement it, right? That's the key. You go and implement that and you can't help but be positioned as an expert in your industry. You can't help but be positioned as someone who has absolute certainty and conviction and confidence like we talked about yesterday. So you've got all of that. That'll last you maybe 12 to 18 months. What happens then is that the competitors and the people who have not invested in themselves in the way that you have to actually unpack all of this stuff, they start to get a sniff of what you're doing, right? And then it's kind of like they can jump on your coattails, but you're like, peace out, bitches. Like, I'm already on to the next thing. And I think that is the key, right? The key to really being out there and being seen and being visible and being viewed as an expert in your industry for your audience is that you still need to, we've got to have that consistency, but you've also got to be able to innovate and be moving towards what that next thinking is, because then they can never fucking catch you, right? And I remember what was really cool about this conversation I had with this client last year is that we've gone, all right, so we've got this concept, right? And it was all kind of like it was like spread out and worked out. And they said, this is like an absolute gold mine. This is a treasure chest, a treasure trove of amazingness in here. This is absolutely the next 18 months to 2 years of content and marketing and IP and positioning. She said, no one in this industry is talking about anything even remotely like this. I'm like, fucking A. And that's the thing, right? You've got to be prepared. If you don't want to be seen as a copycat, if you don't want to be seen as someone who is, and whether it's true or not, like nobody wants to be accused of copying somebody else or even necessarily being similar to somebody else. I remember having a conversation with somebody a couple of years ago, and I was talking about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to go and where I was going, you know, all of this, that, and the other. And they said, "Oh, you look just like this other person," or like, "I can't tell the difference between the two of you." And I was like, "Oh my God, like, ugh, kill me now." Because the last thing that I want ever is to be the same as anyone else. I just don't want that. And I don't want you to want that. I don't want you to try to be like me. And I know that you don't want other people in your industry to be like you either, like you. And this is where that innovation and being a couple of steps in front of the game is really important. So here's what you need to do. The first thing that you need to do is you've got to sit down and work out, how can you articulate really simply what it is that you do and how it is that you do it and who it is that you do it for, right? So what you do, what you do, who you do it for, and how you do it, right? They're the three main things that you need to start with. And then from there, it's about building out your framework for how you're going to position yourself differently. So it could be that you want to be positioned as a change maker in your industry, or potentially as a thought leader in your industry, or as an expert in your industry, or as the rock star in your industry. Or maybe it's just about you getting out there from being invisible to being visible. And whether you are in that phase, so whether you've been like a lot of the analogies that I'll talk about are like singing in the shower, right? So if you've been singing in the shower, jamming out there, but not other person on the planet knows that you or your content exists just yet, or that what you do exists just yet, then this framework will create momentum faster than if you don't do it, right? If you're already kind of visible, like dabbling, and that might be that maybe you're doing a little bit of posting, maybe you're doing a live stream every now and again, they haven't got the consistency there because you don't know what to say, how to say it. Maybe you've been stuck for inspiration, maybe you've been stuck for time, you know, whatever it happens to be, or maybe the messaging is not quite right yet, or you're just not comfortable, then this framework will help propel you out there. If you're already out there doing this, then this framework gives you, it's like, I almost kind of feel like a maturing and a polishing of what you've already got there. Now, I guess what I'm talking about here is the importance of you constantly looking for that next edge. What's the next edge that's going to have you growing your momentum, growing your influence, not as an influencer necessarily, but growing your influence, growing your visibility, growing your positioning, because when you're doing all of that, it grows momentum, and that's when you get to help more people. That's when you get to have people asking you to speak internationally. That's when you have people begging you for interviews. That's when you have people chasing to kind of catch up with you and do the things that you're doing or be like you. But you're still always, 2 steps ahead of the game. The biggest thing that I can say to you though is so you've got to know what it is that you're doing, who it is that you're doing it for, how it is that you're doing it, and then just know that you've got to build this framework no matter whether you're brand new and you're just starting or whether you're a seasoned professional. There is no better time to cut through this online noise and do it from a place of a really powerful framework to be able to really kind of cut through, stand out, be seen, be in the spotlight, be visible, all of that kind of stuff. You can't not do this. My dream, my wish would be that every single business owner on this planet went through and did this work. I know 100% with every moral fiber of my being that this is something that will set your world on fire. It'll set your marketing on fire. I know. Whether you do it through the book or whether you do it through Visible Live or whether you do it through, some other way that we work together, I know that this will change your life and change your business for the better. So that's what you need to do. Get your framework down. Right? And have a really solid way of being able to leverage all of this, because everyone is the same. everybody, that's not true. Everybody seems the same online because everybody's so fucking scared of pissing someone off. They're so scared of offending someone. They're so scared of being accused of copying. They're so scared of breaching rules and ethics and all this other stuff, which is important, but not when, I mean, ethics is always important. Integrity is always important. But you are not being unethical by putting yourself out there and helping people on the internet, right? Everyone is going to have an opinion. It's really interesting because what I see, I'm working a lot at the moment with people who are working in private practice, whether it's as a psychologist, as a mental health professional, whether it's as a personal trainer, it doesn't matter, right? The thing is, particularly if you're in a role of helping other people, all the other people in your industry are so fucking quick to say, you can't do that, you can't do that, you can't do this, you can't say that, that's, no, that's not right. They don't have to approve of you, right? Write that down somewhere. Nobody else needs to approve of me. You know what I mean by that, right? That wasn't said very eloquently, but you get it. You don't require approval from your peers. Maybe that's a better thing to write down. I do not require approval from my peers. So long as you are ticking the boxes and you're doing the right thing and you're allowed to rock the boat. A word that's come up this year that I really love is disrupt. And I think actually a client of mine used it with some stuff that they were doing the other day, and I was like, oh, that's a really, really cool word. You can disrupt the industry. You can do things your way. But the bottom line is the thing that is going to make you stand out is you communicating you in the way that you do it. The other thing I wanted to leave you with today is if you are in that place where you need to do things a bit differently and you need to cut through the noise and you do need to stand out for your people, then don't look within your industry. That's a very big thing to say. Like, I don't usually say don't. I would generally say I would recommend that you avoid looking within your industry, particularly for visual inspiration, right? I would not look within your industry for visual inspiration, for content inspiration. Don't look at your peers. Go and you can still like their pages and be friends with them, but perhaps go and put them on snooze or mute or so that you don't see their notifications, right? So you can still be supporting them, but you don't have to see the notifications. Don't look at the content. I know for me, if I go and look at other people in my industry, even today, I might see somebody's stuff like very well-known marketers, for instance, come through my thing, and I'm like, oh, that's often my first thing is like, oh, and that might come from because, oh, why couldn't I have thought about that? Or that was what I was going to say, or now it's going to look like I'm copying them. There are times where even still, I don't want to feel like that. So I just block it all out. So that way, if someone says, oh, did you see what Gary talked about? Or did you see what Frank talked about? Or did you see what blah, blah, blah talked about? Or Marie or whoever, or Danielle, or, whatever, I'm like, nah, legitimately, I don't follow anyone of those people because I don't want to be swayed. I want all of my stuff that I'm doing to come from in here and from outside of the industry. So I'm going to hop off my little soapbox now because that's what I'm going to do. If you need help with this, and you may or may not, if you need help with this, with pulling this stuff out of your head, then Visible Live will absolutely rock your world. The link is in there. If you're listening to the audio, you can find us at nicolamoras.com.au/rockstar, where you will absolutely, no matter what industry you're in, no matter where you're at in your visibility on the internet, this will absolutely revolutionize everything that you're doing. And I'm so excited to deliver. I fucking love this program. So I'm really, really thrilled to be able to do that. If you've got any questions about anything, let me know. So you know what you need to do. You need to work out your framework that's going to position you as an expert. You need to know what it is that you're doing, who it is that you're doing it for, and how it is that you're going to do that, and then start to filter all of the content through that so that you can really help your people. So get out there, my friends, go help some people, have a whole ton of fun doing it, and remember, the world is ready for your brand of awesome. Have an amazing day, and if I don't see you before, I will absolutely see you tomorrow.